They say the sea keeps its secrets, but what if one of them is about to be revealed? Not long ago, a team of elite divers ventured into these waters, not chasing gold or fame, but a mystery nearly 3,000 years old. They weren't guided by legends of lost cities or pirate ships, but by the Book of Exodus. The story is familiar. Moses, the parted sea, and Pharaoh's army swallowed by the waves. For centuries, it's been called myth, metaphor, a powerful tale with no proof. But what if that's about to change? What the divers found may be more than coral and sand. It may be the remnants of a forgotten battlefield, a miracle, frozen in time beneath the sea. And if it's true, it could shake the worlds of science, faith, and history alike. This isn't just a dive, it's a journey into mystery, scripture, and the very edge of the impossible. The secretive dive mission. It began quietly. No press, no scientific journal announcements, no fanfare. Late in 2024, on a secluded stretch of coastline near Nuweiba Beach on the Gulf of Aqaba, a group of divers entered the water at dawn. But these weren't ordinary divers. Among them were former Navy SEALs, marine engineers, and underwater archaeology consultants. Their mission was planned like a military operation. Their goal? To verify, or debunk, one of the most hotly debated events in human history. Their equipment was state-of-the-art, high-resolution sonar imaging, AI-assisted deep-sea drones, multi-spectrum sediment scanners, all designed to scan and map the seafloor like never before. They weren't just looking for shapes. They were looking for patterns, for anomalies, for remnants of war beneath the water. But the path to this mission wasn't smooth. Before they even entered the water, their expedition faced fierce opposition. Several governments issued strong warnings, citing safety, legality, and cultural preservation. University departments dismissed the team's plan as pseudoscience. Officials in Egypt and Israel reportedly cautioned them not to proceed, invoking diplomatic concerns. Still, something pushed the mission forward. That something was faith and funding. Quietly, a group of wealthy private backers stepped in. These weren't ordinary investors. They were believers. Men and women driven not by academic pride, but by a sense of divine purpose. And so, the expedition was born in whispers and conducted under the radar. But rumors have a way of rising to the surface. As soon as a leaked photo showed a team assembling submersibles labeled with cryptic Hebrew phrases, the internet caught fire. "Back to where the Pharaoh fell," one caption read. Within days, the phrase went viral. Debates erupted on forums, prophecy websites, and YouTube conspiracy channels. Was someone finally going to prove that the Book of Exodus was more than just a story? The world didn't know it yet, but something was about to stir in the depths. The Exodus and the biblical mystery. To understand the weight of what might have been found, we must go back, not just to 2024, but to the edge of antiquity. The Exodus. The moment when Moses, armed only with a staff and divine command, led an entire people out of Egypt's grip. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Israelites fled bondage through the wilderness and came to the edge of the Red Sea. Trapped between the sea and Pharaoh's approaching army, they had no escape. But then, the miraculous. Scripture tells us the waters were divided, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground. Exodus 14:21-22. And as Pharaoh's chariots thundered after them, the sea collapsed. Christianity and Islam. A moment of divine intervention, of liberation, of judgment. But for generations, skeptics have asked, where is the evidence? Archaeologists combed the Sinai Peninsula, but found no Hebrew camps, no artifacts, and certainly no chariots. Some scholars even proposed that the Red Sea was a mistranslation, that it referred instead to a shallow sea of reeds, barely waist deep. Others pointed to the Gulf of Suez. None of these theories ever quite aligned with the grandeur of the biblical account. Then came an alternative location, the Gulf of Aqaba, near modern-day Nuweiba. This theory wasn't born in a lab or a university. It came from explorers, Bible researchers, and map analysts. What they found was astonishing. An underwater land bridge between the shores of Egypt and Arabia. It was wide, smooth, and flat enough to allow a massive group of people, men, women, children, and livestock, to cross. And it lay directly beneath the waves, where ancient warriors may still rest. Could this be the true crossing site? Was the miracle more than metaphor? This theory, long ignored or mocked, suddenly had new life. Because the 2024 divers, equipped with gear undreamed of in the past, were heading straight to the coordinates long rumored to hold a secret buried for 3,000 years. Ron Wyatt, the controversial trailblazer. Long before the sonar scans and AI drones, there was a man with a Bible, a compass, and a conviction. Ron Wyatt was no university-trained archaeologist. He was a nurse anesthetist from Tennessee, a quiet man whose faith led him to the deserts and seas of the Middle East. To many in academia, he was a fringe enthusiast, dismissed as a modern-day treasure hunter. But to others, he was a pioneer, a man who dared to follow the literal words of Scripture wherever they might lead. In 1978, Wyatt made his first dive into the Red Sea. What he claimed to find beneath the waves would ignite both devotion and division. He spoke of coral-covered shapes, structures with unnatural symmetry, chariot wheels, not one, but several, 4, 6, and even 8-spoked wheels, preserved in coral but unmistakable in form. He claimed to see axles, human bones, horse remains, a battlefield sealed in time by salt and sea. There were no academic papers, no peer-reviewed studies, just photos, handwritten notes, grainy underwater footage, and impassioned testimony. Skeptics scoffed. Governments refused permits to extract what might be there. And archaeologists warned that coral could mimic almost any shape, especially in the mind of a believer. And yet, the story wouldn't die. For every critic, there were 10 who were inspired. Wyatt's accounts spread through church circles, prophecy books, and religious documentaries. To them, he was more than a man. He was a vessel, a witness, a voice crying out from the deep. Over the decades, others followed in his footsteps. Independent researchers, pastors, divers with GoPros and prayer journals. And each time they descended into the Gulf of Aqaba, they returned with questions and wonder. Maybe Wyatt didn't find everything, but maybe, just maybe, he found something. The coral-covered mystery. Why weren't Wyatt's discoveries removed? Why no museum exhibits? Why no physical proof? According to Wyatt, the answer was both scientific and spiritual. First, the coral. The Red Sea is a vibrant, living ecosystem. Over centuries, coral grows over submerged objects, covering them, preserving their shapes, but not their material. What remains is a limestone-like shell. If you try to remove it, it crumbles. Imagine a ghost of a wheel, intact only because it hasn't been touched. Second, the laws. Egypt's Antiquities Department is famously strict. Removing artifacts, even suspected ones, from undersea sites is illegal without overwhelming evidence and exhaustive permits. Wyatt claimed he was denied these more than once. Third, the golden wheel. In one of the most debated parts of his testimony, Wyatt said that he discovered a wheel, shimmering, gold in color, resting upright on the seabed. He reported it to authorities, who allegedly took possession of it. And then, nothing. No photo, no report, no confirmation, only silence. Critics called it convenient fiction. Believers called it tragic suppression. Was it truth? Delusion? Or something else? What's undeniable is this. Wyatt lit a fire that hasn't gone out. For decades, his dives were whispered about in church basements and Bible studies. Did you hear about the Chariot wheels in the Red Sea? Could they be real? And now, decades later, a new team of divers returned. To the very coordinates Wyatt gave, with the technology he never had. What they found may vindicate, or forever complicate, Ron Wyatt's legacy. The modern-day discovery. The 2024 dive team didn't expect what they saw. Not fully. At first, the seabed was silent. Sonar swept across smooth terrain, punctuated by occasional rock formations and coral gardens. But then, something emerged. Not on the surface, but in the patterns. Symmetry, repetition, geometry, where there should be none. Structures with a circular form, rough yet evenly spaced. Axle-like connectors between coral masses. The deeper the drones pushed, the more the shapes repeated. Then came something no one expected. A glint. Just beneath a veil of sediment, a golden flash caught the light. Metallic. Faint. Possibly degraded. But unmistakable against the muted palette of the seabed. Divers descended, cameras rolling. What they recorded sent shivers down spines in the control room above. Fragments of chariots, split wooden spokes, long decayed but outlined in coral. Bronze-like fixtures, what appeared to be human femurs and equine jawbones, curved, fossilized, wrapped in sea growth. But it was the arrangement that stunned them most. The bodies, the wreckage. It wasn't random. It looked like chaos frozen in motion, as if an entire line of soldiers, horses, and wheels had been lifted, thrown, and dropped mid-charge. One diver described it as a watery tomb. Another, a graveyard of war. Footage showed remains oriented in the same direction, as if all fleeing or charging forward. Some fragments bore signs of violent impact, shattered axles, snapped spokes, contorted skeletal frames. Was this an ancient battle? Or the collapse of an army? Swallowed by divine force? Scientists hesitate, but the shapes don't lie. The location aligns with scripture. And the discovery? It speaks volumes, without a single word. Public shock and suppression. The footage didn't stay secret for long. Within weeks of the dive, snippets began appearing online. Grainy clips of the coral wheels, freeze frames of diver cams, and audio whispers of excitement and disbelief. It started with niche prophecy forums, then TikTok, then YouTube, and then it exploded. The internet erupted. Millions watched. Comment sections lit up with verses from Exodus. Theories poured in from every corner of the globe. Was this the long-awaited proof? Had the Red Sea just yielded up its dead? One commentator wrote, "This isn't just archaeology. This is judgment, preserved in stone." News outlets scrambled. Some cautiously reported it as a possible archaeological anomaly. Others mocked. Late-night hosts cracked jokes. Greg Gutfeld famously quipped, "I want a refund on my history textbook." But then, the videos started disappearing. Clips vanished. Accounts were suspended. Entire threads were wiped from forums overnight. Some called it copyright enforcement. Others claimed national security. But to many viewers, it felt like censorship, suppression, like someone didn't want the world to know what had been found. Theories surged. Was this a cover-up by academic elites? A media blackout ordered by secular governments? Or simply a panic response to unverified claims? Ironically, the suppression only magnified the discovery. People began revisiting Ron Wyatt's original dives. His grainy footage was now being analyzed with new eyes. Debates flared in university halls. Scholars who once dismissed the idea as fantasy were now forced, reluctantly, to take a second look. The ripple effect was undeniable. Faith communities worldwide reignited with passion. Pastors delivered sermons on the Exodus with new urgency. Documentaries were announced overnight. For many, this wasn't just a story anymore, it was a revelation. The return of biblical archaeology. Zoom out. Look beyond the Red Sea, and you'll see a shift that's been building for years. From the snow-capped flanks of Mount Ararat to the jagged wilderness near Mount Sinai, a quiet renaissance has been stirring. Biblical archaeology, once sidelined as speculative or irrelevant, is making a fierce return. New tools have changed the game. Drones now map terrain once thought impassable. AI scans thousands of documents for ancient references. LiDAR pierces jungle canopies. High-resolution sonar reveals what the naked eye never could. These technologies, combined with satellite imagery and digital modeling, are uncovering anomalies that have no explanation in secular textbooks. And it's not just about chariots. There are renewed whispers about the Ark of the Covenant, its last rumored location traced to deep vaults beneath Ethiopia. The Dead Sea Scrolls continue to reveal new fragments, challenging long-held historical timelines. Excavations near ancient Jericho suggest sudden collapses, walls that fell, not weathered. It's not that these truths were never there, it's that we're finally looking with open minds and open tech. And more than that, it's not just scholars leading the charge anymore, it's believers, explorers, technologists, ordinary people with extraordinary curiosity. People who ask, what if the Bible wasn't metaphorical, but historical? The lines are blurring. The divide between faith and science is not as wide as once believed. Because truth? Truth doesn't care where it comes from. Implications. What else lies beneath? So now, the world stands at a crossroads. If this discovery is true, if those coral formations really are what we think they are, then what else have we missed? What else lies beneath the oceans, deserts, and mountains? Could the great miracles we read about be not poetic allegory, but historical record? What about the plagues of Egypt? The manna in the wilderness? The sun standing still at Jericho? What if the timeline of human history isn't incomplete, but misaligned? For centuries, science and faith have been painted as opposites, locked in an eternal tug-of-war. But what if they're partners? Two lenses viewing the same reality from different angles? The chariot wheels may never sit in a museum case. They may crumble before they're ever touched. But that doesn't make them meaningless. It makes them sacred. Because sometimes, the greatest artifacts aren't the ones we can hold, but the ones that make us think, question, and believe again. This isn't just about archaeology. It's about how we see the past and ourselves. In the end, the story is more than saltwater and coral. It's prophecy, it's memory, it's the convergence of ancient scripture and modern discovery. If Pharaoh's wheels truly rest at the bottom of the Red Sea, then this isn't just a footnote in a textbook. It's a divine echo, a thunderclap from history that says, what was written may indeed have been real. And so, we leave you with this question. If the Red Sea holds truth, what other miracles might be real? Was the burning bush more than myth? Did fire truly fall on Mount Carmel? Did a stone really strike down a giant? History is whispering. Are we ready to listen? Let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts, your questions, your wonder in the comments below. And remember, this may be only the beginning. Because the past is not dead. It's not even buried. It's waiting to be rediscovered.